My name is Lily Mitchell, 32. I worked my entire adult life to afford my beautiful Victorian home, but my family always saw me as a failure, while my sister married rich. Imagine my shock when I found out they planned a lavish party at my house without asking. They always take me for granted. Until now. I changed the locks before their big night. Time to teach them a lesson. Before we dive in, tell me where you're watching from. Hit like if you've ever had family take advantage of you, and subscribe for more stories on standing up for yourself. Hit that like button if you've ever felt overlooked by the people you love most, and hit subscribe for more real stories about finding your voice. Now let me tell you about how I got here, the house, and all the struggles my family never understood. Unlike my sister Emma, who married into the Wilson fortune at 25, I didn't have wealth handed to me. I built my life from the ground up, working 3 jobs after college, barista by morning, office assistant by day, and waiting tables at night. I lived in a cramped studio apartment with water damage, spending 6 years scraping every penny I could to buy something of my own. While Emma had it all, my parents only saw me as a disappointment. They'd always say things like, "Lily, you're not getting any younger," and they'd constantly remind me of how successful Emma was. Meanwhile, I was out there working 12-hour shifts just to pay rent, all the while dreaming of a place that was truly mine. After 6 long years, I finally saved enough to start my own interior design business. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I took small projects, built a name, and found clients who believed in me, and after countless late nights, those sacrifices paid off. When I found the Victorian home of my dreams, I saw potential. Bones that needed love and care. The real estate agent warned me it was a money pit, but I saw a future, and I knew I could make it work. By 29, I owned it. I negotiated a price I could afford and dove headfirst into renovations. Every decision, every paint color, every hour spent restoring the hardwood floors, it was all me. It wasn't just about building a home. It was about proving to myself that I could do this. But when I threw my housewarming party, my dad, of course, had to rain on my parade. "Hope you didn't overpay for this place," he muttered while tapping on the wall. "Emma?" She breezed in 2 hours late, a scented candle in hand. The same candle I'd seen in the clearance bin at Home Goods. That was my family's idea of celebrating my success. I spent all these years building something from nothing, but to them, it wasn't enough. And now, as I sit here, the truth couldn't be clearer. I've spent my entire life being seen as the family's supporting character, the one who's supposed to be content in the background, always second to Emma's shining accomplishments. Well, I was done with it. This time, I wasn't just going to sit back and let them walk all over me. Not anymore. Despite all this, I maintained peace with my family. I hosted Thanksgiving, attended Emma's extravagant theme parties, one of which was a yachts and champagne disaster where everyone had to dress like sailors, and then there were the not-so-subtle comments from my mother about freezing my eggs before it's too late. It was exhausting, but I kept up the act, playing the role of the good daughter while silently building the life I wanted for myself. But everything changed 3 weeks ago at another family dinner. I had just landed the biggest client of my career, a boutique hotel downtown, willing to pay handsomely for me to redesign their lobby and signature suites. I was bursting with pride, but it wasn't long before the conversation shifted back to Emma. "That's nice, honey," my mother mumbled, barely looking up from her steak. "Emma, tell Lily about your fundraiser." And just like that, Emma took center stage once again, launching into a 20-minute monologue about a charity auction she'd hosted, raising $50,000, 0 cents, for the Children's Hospital. Now don't get me wrong, the auction was admirable, but Emma had leveraged James's wealthy connections to make it happen, and the way my parents beamed at her, you'd think she had personally cured cancer. I was sitting there picking at my dessert when my phone buzzed. I looked down to see a text from my cousin, Chloe. "Hey Lily, is Emma hosting a party at your house next weekend? She's showing everyone pictures of your garden. Thought you should know." My stomach dropped. I looked up at Emma sitting there laughing with Dad. That cold feeling settled in my gut. I knew right then that something was wrong. The next morning, I did a little digging. It didn't take long to uncover the truth. Emma had posted a beautifully designed digital invitation for a garden party and networking event on Instagram. The background image? My garden, in full bloom, with my hydrangeas and rose bushes bursting with color. The caption read, "Join us at our family's historic property for an afternoon of connection and conversation. Limited exclusive invitations. Catering by Marcel's. Valet parking provided." I froze. We didn't have a family estate. The only historic property connected to the Mitchell name was my house. The one I'd worked for, scraped for, and bled for. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I called Emma immediately. She answered on the 4th ring, sounding annoyed, as if I were interrupting something important. Emma, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Why is there an invitation circulating with pictures of my house? Oh, that, she said almost nonchalantly. I was going to tell you about it. It's a networking event for James's business associates and some potential investors. It's really important, Lily. At my house? Without asking me? I felt the anger rising in my chest. Don't be dramatic, she shot back. It's just for an afternoon. Mom and Dad thought it was a great idea. We thought you'd be happy to help the family make connections. It's not like you use that big house for entertaining much anyway. I nearly choked on my words. It's my house, Emma. I've worked my ass off for it. You can't just decide to host events here without even asking me? Oh, but Mom and Dad already gave the green light, she said, as if that settled everything. You're always looking for ways to contribute to the family. That was it. I could feel the ground shifting beneath me. They have no right to permit my property, I said, my voice trembling with barely controlled rage. And neither do you. I don't care if you're trying to impress James's friends. I'm not hosting your damn party. Don't be so difficult, Lily, she replied, her tone dismissive. Caterers will be by tomorrow to check the kitchen, so just relax. We're doing this for you too. Everyone will be so impressed with your garden. I slammed my phone down, my hands shaking. It was bad enough that they never saw me for what I was, that they always held Emma in the highest regard. But this? They had crossed a line. I couldn't stop myself. I called my parents hoping for some understanding, but when I told them what had happened, they didn't even seem surprised. Lily, don't be selfish, my mother scolded. Emma needs this. The Wilsons are bringing some very important people. Her house is being painted, and you know how construction dust gets everywhere. Then she should postpone the party or find another venue, I snapped. Look, it's just for one day, my father chimed in, trying to smooth things over. It's good for you to be part of family initiatives. You're always so isolated with that design business of yours. I was about to scream. This wasn't about their initiative, this was about respect. About them treating my life, my home, and my boundaries like they were nothing. I was furious. I was no longer their doormat. The next day, I got an email from Elegant Events by Cynthia, the event planning company, detailing the itinerary for the party at my house. Not only would the event take place in my garden, but guests would have tours of my ground floor, as if it were a venue for hire, and they had the gall to instruct me to secure valuables from the main areas. This wasn't just a violation of my property, it was a violation of me. Then came the final blow. I was at a client meeting when I received an alert from my security system. I discreetly checked the app and saw 3 strangers, caterers, standing on my front porch trying keys in my door. Excuse me, I whispered to my client, I need to handle something. I called my house. One of the caterers answered. We're here to check the kitchen for Mrs. Wilson's party, she said. There's no party, I said, trying to remain calm. Please leave my property immediately. They apologized and left, but I wasn't done. I later learned that Emma had told them my house was her family's second home, and that my sister knows all about it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That night, I received a group text from Emma and her friend Hannah, which, to my horror, I had been accidentally included in. Emma's words were crystal clear. It's just Lily being difficult. I'll handle her. It's just her house. She won't mind. It's not like she has an important life or anything. And just like that, my breaking point had arrived. Bradley's connections are coming, Lily. This isn't just about you anymore. Emma's words echoed in my head as I paced my apartment, struggling to process the reality of the betrayal. I had always been the one to put family first, to be the good daughter. And now, I was the one they were stomping all over. I needed someone to talk to, someone who wouldn't judge me, someone who would help me make sense of it all. I dialed Sophie's number and she answered on the first ring. Lily, what's wrong? You sound like you're about to crack. Sophie's voice was always a safe haven, full of calm and understanding. They're taking advantage of me, Soph. Again. Emma's throwing this party at my house without even asking me. They're treating my home like a prop, like it doesn't matter. And my parents, they're siding with her. My words spilled out, more frantic than I realized. Lily, Sophie's voice softened. This isn't just about a party. This is about your boundaries being ignored. You've worked your whole life for that house, and they've crossed the line. I could feel the tears welling up, but Sophie's words steadied me. She always had a way of cutting through the chaos, helping me see things. I'm so tired of being the doormat, I whispered, the frustration bubbling up again. But if I speak up, they'll make me feel guilty. They always do. You're not being selfish, Lily, Sophie said firmly. You're standing up for yourself, and you've got every right to. The anger I had been holding in for so long surged again. I had given them years of my life, my time, my money, my heart, and for what? To be walked over when it suited them? I'm calling Ethan, I said abruptly, my decision clear in my mind. I'm not going to let them walk all over me anymore. I'm going to do something about it. Ethan Wilson was a friend from college, someone I had never really leaned on for legal advice until now, but as a property lawyer, he was exactly who I needed. I called him the next morning. He picked up after 2 rings. "Lily, hey, what's going on?" he asked, his tone casual but concerned. "I'm having a problem, Ethan," I started, my voice shaking with the weight of the situation. "My sister's throwing a party at my house without my permission. She gave the keys to the caterers. She's using my home like it's hers. I don't know what to do." Ethan paused, his professional tone slipping into something more personal. "I've heard of some family drama in my time, but this is a new one. You have every right to say no, Lily, and you've got the legal backing to enforce it." I could feel the adrenaline start to build. What should I do? "You need to secure your property, change the locks, install a new security system, and make sure no one enters without your consent," Ethan advised. "You're within your rights, and if they try anything, I'll help you with the legal side." I had always seen Ethan as the level-headed one. His words gave me the clarity I needed. This was no longer about family expectations. This was about my rights, my home. That night, I made the call to Lucas, a locksmith I had worked with on a few client projects. He agreed to come the next day and change all the locks, install a new security system that I could monitor remotely, and add cameras to ensure no one could sneak in without my knowledge. Sophie, Mia, and Ava were by my side, offering support as I began planning my next move. We spent hours packing up sentimental items, my grandmother's china, family heirlooms, jewelry, things I couldn't bear to lose. I was no longer going to leave my home vulnerable just for the sake of family harmony. Next morning, Lucas arrived with his team. They worked quickly, replacing every lock and setting up a new, high-tech security system that would alert me if anyone tried to get in. I felt a sense of power I hadn't felt in years. By the time they finished, the house was secure. I had control. Sophie came over that afternoon, bringing coffee and comfort. "How are you feeling?" she asked, setting her cup down on the kitchen counter. I feel like I'm finally doing something for myself," I said, almost surprised at the calmness in my voice. "For once, I'm not just rolling over and letting them walk all over me." "Exactly. You're standing up for yourself, and that takes guts," Sophie said with a proud smile. "This is a turning point for you, Lily. You're no longer the person who hides in the background, trying to please everyone. You're the person who says, 'Enough,' and that is powerful." I took a deep breath and looked around my home, the place I had fought so hard to create. No one was going to take it from me, not even for a day, not without consequence. The day had finally come. I had spent the last few days mentally preparing for this moment. I wasn't just fighting for my home, I was fighting for my independence, my dignity, and my right to be treated with respect. I had changed the locks, installed a state-of-the-art security system, and moved everything of value to a safe location. My house, the one I had built with my own hands, was now my fortress. No one would breach it, not even my family. I woke up early that morning with a strange mixture of anxiety and excitement. I knew today would test every ounce of resolve I had in me. As I poured myself a cup of coffee, I couldn't help but feel a sense of empowerment. This was the first time in my life that I was putting my foot down and refusing to let my family walk all over me. I was tired of being the quiet, supportive one, the one who always sacrificed her own needs to please them. By 9:00 IEM, the first signs of chaos began. My phone lit up with notifications, and a glance at the security app showed me that the vendors were already at my front door. I watched as a catering van pulled up, followed by a flower delivery truck. The event planner, looking crisp in her suit, stood on my porch, clipboard in hand, ready to begin. They were all expecting a smooth, glamorous event, and they were about to be in for a shock. Sophie had stayed the night, offering me comfort and support. As I watched the scene unfold on the app, she handed me another cup of coffee and gave me an encouraging smile. "It's happening, Lily. You've got this." "Yeah," I said, taking a deep breath, my fingers tightening around the mug. "It's happening." The vendors rang the doorbell, then tried the doorknob. I could see their confusion mounting as the minutes passed. My phone buzzed with an incoming call from Emma. I let it ring out. She tried again, and again. I silenced the phone, refusing to engage. Sophie, ever the observer, leaned forward, watching the scene unfold through the security feed. "Are you ready for this?" "Ready as I'll ever be," I replied, my voice steady despite the nerves gnawing at me. The doorbell rang again, but this time, I wasn't going to ignore it. I opened the app and clicked on the live feed. I saw Emma standing there, her face tight with frustration. She pressed the doorbell, a string of impatient rings echoing in the still morning air. Behind her stood my parents, their usual calm demeanor now replaced by a visible tension. Emma's face grew darker as she checked her phone, presumably confirming that my house was the venue. Her next move took me by surprise. She stepped back from the door and made a call. I could hear her voice over the speaker. "Lily, open up right now. This isn't funny anymore." I couldn't help but smile, just a little. The arrogance that had once been their trademark, especially Emma's, was now slipping. She was losing control. I clicked the speak button. "You know what, Emma? I've had enough of you and Mom and Dad deciding what's mine. My house, my rules. You can't just take over like this anymore." "Lily, stop being childish," Emma snapped, her voice sharp. "You're embarrassing yourself. These are important people, Bradley's connections. You're ruining everything." "Don't you dare," I shot back, my voice firm. "You don't get to decide what's important in my life. This house isn't a backdrop for your little social experiments. And I'm not playing along anymore." There was a long pause on the other end. I could hear Emma muttering something to my parents in the background, their voices rising in agitation. My phone buzzed again with messages. Then another call, this time from my mother. "Lily Jean Mitchell," my mother's voice cracked through the speaker, her tone more frantic than I'd ever heard. "You're making a fool of yourself. Open this door right now. Your father and I are embarrassed." "Embarrassed?" I repeated, incredulous. "I'm embarrassed by you? By the way you've treated me all my life? By the way you think it's okay to use my home, my space, like it's nothing?" There was a brief silence before my father's voice joined in, low and threatening. "Lily, this isn't just about a party. This is about family. You've always been so distant, and now you're making this impossible. Open up." "No," I said firmly, feeling a surge of power flood through me. "Not this time. You've crossed a line, and I'm not letting you back in." The doorbell rang again, then came the sound of keys being tried in the lock, and just like that, I knew. They were really trying to break in. I turned to Sophie, who was watching me with pride in her eyes. "What now?" she asked, her voice calm and steady. "Now," I said, "we watch them fail, and we watch them learn what happens when you push someone too far." As I watched Emma and my parents struggle, my heart didn't waver. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel the urge to relent. This was the moment I had been waiting for. The moment I took control of my own life and made them realize that their demands, their expectations, none of it was going to work on me anymore. At 11:00 a.m., the first guest arrived. The valet pulled up to the curb, his face confused as he saw the chaos unfolding. More guests trickled in, but they were all greeted with the same confusion. A few tried the door, a few wandered off, and by noon, the party, Emma's big important party, was a flop. I sat back in the living room, the tension easing from my shoulders as I heard the sounds of Emma's frantic phone calls. I watched as she paced up and down the sidewalk, trying to salvage what was left of the event she had hoped would define her. Then my phone buzzed again. It was James, Emma's husband. I hesitated but answered. "Lily," he said, sounding genuinely apologetic, "I had no idea what was going on. I'm so sorry. This shouldn't have happened. Can we talk?" I took a deep breath, letting the relief wash over me. "James, I'm not ready to talk right now, but thank you for finally seeing it. Maybe next week, when things have cooled down." Then I put down my phone, the screen darkened by the silence that followed the last message from James. I sat back in the living room, letting the quiet of my house envelop me. It was strange, but in the best possible way. For the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for someone's approval, for their permission to feel at home in my own space. This house, my beautiful, hard-earned Victorian, was finally mine. It wasn't just a building, it was a testament to everything I had fought for, everything I had sacrificed. I had just thrown the most nerve-wracking, boldest punch of my life by locking out my family, and it felt freeing. But I also knew there would be fallout, a cost for standing up for myself. The first week after the lockout was difficult. My phone was practically blowing up with calls and texts, most of them angry, some full of guilt, others outright pleading. I didn't answer. It was hard enough trying to process everything that had just happened. But after a few days of reflection, something in me clicked. I wasn't going to let their guilt trips, their manipulations, define me anymore. Then came the surprise text from Emma. It wasn't long after the chaos had settled that I received a message from her. "Lily, I'm sorry. I can't tell you how sorry I am for everything that's happened. I never meant to hurt you. I've always been trying to live up to some idea of what success looks like. But you've shown me something that I've never really seen before. I'm sorry for how I've treated you." I was taken aback. Emma admitting she was wrong? It felt surreal. She had always been the golden child, the one who never needed to apologize, the one who was always showered with praise while I worked tirelessly in the background. But there it was. Genuine remorse. I read the message 3 times, letting it sink in before I replied. Thank you, Emma. I don't know if we'll ever be the same, but I appreciate you saying this. I just want you to know, I've always been proud of you, in my way, but I need you to respect me. I need you to see me as an equal. That was all I said, short but honest. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of family phone calls, some more painful than others. My mother's voicemail was the hardest to listen to. She left message after message, her voice alternating between anger and shame. Lily, she said in one message, I've never been so humiliated in my life. How could you do this to us, after everything we've done for you? But then came the voicemail that made me stop and listen. Lily, I want you to know, I'm proud of you. I know I've failed you in a lot of ways, and I've treated you like you weren't enough. I see that now. I'm sorry. I'm trying to change, and I'm working on it. I don't want to lose you. And for the first time in my life, I believed her. It wasn't just empty words. My parents were trying to understand the damage they had done, and I could feel that shift, that willingness to change. A few weeks later, I decided it was time to host my own housewarming party. It wasn't going to be anything fancy, no high-profile guests, no caterers from some fancy restaurant, just me, my friends, and the people who had stood by me through it all. Sophie, Mia, and Ava were there, of course. They had been my lifeline through this entire ordeal. I had a little help with the party prep, but mostly it was my way of taking back what was mine, my home, my life. And then, something I never expected happened. My parents called, and they wanted to come over. We want to make things right, my mother said. We want to be there for you, Lily, to show you that we respect you. It wasn't the apology I had expected, but it was the one I needed. When they arrived, my mother handed me a bouquet of sunflowers, a small gesture but meaningful. These reminded me of your nursery wallpaper, she said softly, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was seeing her through new eyes. Eyes that weren't clouded by expectation, but by the possibility of real change. My father, usually so stoic, surprised me by pulling out a gift bag and handing it to me with a gruff, "Here." Inside was a framed deed to my house, the words, "Proudly owned by Lily Mitchell, a home built on determination," engraved at the bottom. I was speechless. I had never expected anything like this from them. It wasn't just about the house, it was about everything I had fought for and the respect they were finally acknowledging. The night of the housewarming was everything I had hoped for. I looked around and saw my friends, my chosen family gathered in my space, and I felt a warmth inside that had been missing for so long. The laughter, the easy conversations, it was everything I had ever wanted, and more. Emma came by later in the evening. She looked different, softer, more open. I've been thinking a lot about everything that's happened, she said, and about where I'm going. I'm going back to school part-time. I want to become an architect, Lily. I've always wanted that, and I think I'm finally ready to go after it. I was floored. My sister, the one who had always defined herself by what others thought of her, was finally chasing her dream. I felt a rush of pride for her that I never thought I would. I'm proud of you, Emma, I said, and I meant it. As the night wound down, I stood on my porch swing, looking out over the quiet street. I thought about how far I had come, the lonely nights, the sacrifices, the moments of doubt. But in the end, standing up for myself had led me to this moment of peace. My family was healing, and for the first time I felt truly free. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. We had all taken a step forward in our own way, and that was enough. I went back inside, my heart a little lighter, my mind a little clearer. Sophie came up beside me, smiling. You did it, Lily. You changed everything. I smiled back. Not everything, but I did change the things that matter. And in that moment I knew, setting boundaries had been the hardest, most necessary thing I had ever done, and it was worth it.